Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be with you today. Chief Cordova, thank you for those inspired words. My wish is that every citizen of this great country could listen to that message. Lynette and Landon and Lacey, thank you for this opportunity to pay tribute to a hero, to one of the greatest men in our state. My regrets, and I have a few, are that I didn't get a chance to know Lee or Eric before they were taken from us. But in the days that have followed, I've gotten an opportunity to know both of them very well, through their families, their loved ones, through the stories that have been told and shared, many of which you've heard today. On that fateful Sunday evening of August 17th, when those messages came in, I just kept thinking, this can't happen. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen here. And truly, it rarely happens. As we looked back, the last time we lost two officers from a municipality or the state in one fateful shooting like that night was 1914. So more than 100 years, 1924, 101 years since anything like this had happened in our state. And so, as I mentioned yesterday, less than 24 hours later, I found myself in the medical examiner's office. And as I walked in, something was different. See, I'd been to the medical examiner's office before. It's a tough place with very strong people. People who see the worst tragedies every single day. This is their job. This is what they do. And this day, they weren't the stoic people I knew. The tears were flowing, and I couldn't understand why, what was different. This wasn't, sadly, the first time they'd had to deal with tragedy like this. And that's when I learned that Lee was one of them, that he was an investigator for Box Elder County, that these were his colleagues called upon to do the worst possible thing. And then they started telling me stories about Lee and Lynette, both of whom they had worked with, and how much they loved and adored these two human beings. And then the family came in, and I got a chance to meet them. And sadly, in my job, I get to be with people on a lot of their worst days. But I had never seen what I saw that day. I found out it was their 31st wedding anniversary. And somehow, through the darkness and the tears, Lynette was comforting everyone else. And I learned a lot about them that day and the couple that they are. You've heard a lot about Lee's career, but nobody's talked about the first part of that career because it was very short. And I'm going to talk about it because when I asked her to tell me about Lee, this is when I knew Lee was my kind of people. Lee actually started with the Highway Patrol, and his first assignment was in Salt Lake City. And it didn't take very long for Lee to say, "Can I get transferred to Box Elder County?" And they said, "Well, we don't really work like that." He said, "Okay." And the next thing everyone knew, he was working in Box Elder County. That's when I knew everything I needed to know about Lee. He needed to be back in Garland, back in Tremont, and back with his people. Now, we talk a lot about serving others. If you listened and paid attention to the list of service that Lee and Lynette give to the people in their county, yes, law enforcement is at the center of that, but there is so much more. Whether it's 4-H, Special Olympics, EMS trainings, Their lives have been about service. There's something else unique that has happened in this tragedy, and it's the timing of this tragedy. It happened on Sunday night. That next week is the Box Elder County Fair. Now, for those of you who are not from Box Elder, you can't understand what this week means to the people who live there. Imagine if Christmas lasted 5 days. That's the county fair. Everyone lives for this time. It's a time of celebration, a time of joy, a time when the county comes together. It's like a giant family reunion that just keeps going on and on and on. Multiple nights of the rodeo, a horse parade before the rodeo that everyone comes out to see. The young people who have been growing their animals for the year come together to sell those animals, to raise money for school and other things. And everybody comes to buy those animals. There's nothing like it. Actually, there are some things like it in rural America. But it's really special. And I'm so grateful I've had a chance to be a part of it on a few occasions, including this year as I got to go to the rodeo. As I say that because that time of joy and celebration, that 5-day Christmas turned into something else. There was still some joy and some celebration, but it turned into 5 days of community mourning. Mourning with those who mourn. The love and the tears and the hugs and the sadness. The riderless horses coming into that arena every night, representing those two brave men who gave their lives to serve their community. And then something magical. As all those kids came to sell their cows and their pigs, their sheep, 30 minutes before that, there was a little fundraiser to raise a little money to help these families. Pretty small communities. And the number just kept going up and up and up. Every one of those cows and pigs and sheep got sold that day, and those kids got their money for school. And somehow on top of that, almost $300,000 were raised by this community. And people wonder why. People wonder why Lee wanted to get back to Garland. That's the why. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that there is nothing in our country that is so broken right now that can't be fixed by Box Elder County. I was speaking with Mayor Holmgren, the mayor of Tremont, and he reminded me that Jesus was referred to as the Good Shepherd. And I know a little bit about sheep herding. My uncle, my cousins raised sheep, and I used to spend my summers on the mountain herding sheep with my cousin. We were 15, and somehow they would leave the two of us alone for a week. No cell phones, herding over 1,000 sheep. And one day, just as his dad left, we were sitting there and getting ready to go out and check on the sheep, and his dad came screaming back down the road, and he said, "There's a bear in the sheep." And I grabbed the 30-06 and followed my uncle as we ran towards those sheep to protect them from that bear. It's as scared as I'd ever been. I thought, this is crazy. Why are we running towards this bear? Is much bigger than us. But we ran anyway because that's what you do. That's what you do. You protect the sheep. As Mayor Holmgren had me thinking about the Good Shepherd, I thought of Lee and Eric running towards that evil. And I thought of the Good Shepherd running to them. I know that they're okay. I know that Lee is doing great. But there's something else about shepherding. It's mostly boring. Sheep are pretty dumb. Sheep make a lot of mistakes. And, I had a friend tell me once that he would take a bullet for me. And I said, I'd take a bullet for you too. And that's stuff we say. And then I became governor, and I realized that literally I have people who wear the badge whose job it is to protect me and my family, to take a bullet for us. And then I realized that that's not just something the governor gets. That's something that every person in Utah gets. I'm in a room full of people who put a badge on every day, a badge that says, I will take a bullet for you. My friends, my family, complete strangers, people I've never met, people who probably don't deserve it. And you represent the very best of us. But there is something more than that. You see, I will hopefully never be in a situation like that. Most of us never will. And that's the magic of Lee and Lynette. Now, I pray every night that none of you who put on those uniforms will ever have to go through what happened in this terrible place at this terrible time. And I hope our hearts remember that there are other people impacted as well. Deputy Allred and his canine Azula. Sergeant Brager, who was the arresting officer on scene. Everybody in this police department who's been so impacted. There are many, many victims here. Let's not forget them. But more importantly than all of that is this. Lee was not just willing to take a bullet for all of us. Lee was willing to wear out his life in service to all of us. And that's the boring part of shepherding. It's giving back every single day. It's showing up. It's treating others with goodness and kindness and respect. It's helping with the Special Olympics and 4-H. It's volunteering in your local congregation. It's making sure your neighbor is okay. It's not caring whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever. It's that they're a human being. That's what Lee and Lynette have taught me. And so we have this arena filled with people to pay tribute to a hero who died protecting us. But I like to think that if this funeral had happened 40 years from now, when Lee was in his 90s, that it would have looked a lot like this. Because he had given his life in service every single day to making us all better people. Now, I don't know what it's like in heaven, but I know that we've needed some rain. And I know that somebody who got a degree in agriculture knew that we'd been praying for rain for a long time. And I don't know if those are tears that were falling from heaven this week, or if Lee went into his boss up there and made it clear that we needed some help down here. But I'm grateful that Lee is watching over all of us, and especially his family. May God bless us as we keep his memory alive. Thank you.